give Robert Cook Romans 6, 12, and 13. We'll give long lost ranger over here, Jennifer, John 10 and 27. Keep going on. Then we're going to give Roger Givens Mark chapter 1, verse 40 and 41. We're giving Haley Matthew 9 and 36.
9 and 36.
Right.
Chapter 9,
Matthew.
36.
Matthew.
Okay.
Do you know where it's at?
Heard it that time.
Okay. Then we'll give Karen Luke 15 and 20. And we'll give Christy.
Make her read a whole chapter.
Okay. We'll do Titus chapter 3, verse 4 and 5.
I can read it.
Well, if you need readers, Karen's got extras. They're in the Lincoln. Drive the Lincoln?
Not here.
What'd you drive?
Truck.
I thought it wasn't ready to go.
They've done all they can do for it.
Oh. All right. Now, chapter 3, that's verse 4 and 5.
4 and 9.
5. Then we're coming back to Roger Cook for another one. We're going to give you Ephesians 4 and 32. And we're going to give Robert Proverbs 11, verse 2. We'll give Jennifer Matthew 23 and 12. We'll give Roger 1 Peter 5 and 5. We'll give Haley Romans 12 and 3. We'll give Karen Colossians 3:13. And then if I've got more, I'll give Christy another one when I find it. Well, you can let her read. It won't hurt. Huh?
She can't read.
Well, I don't doubt it. She lives in Colma.
That's true. Went to Bell County.
Huh?
Goes to Bell County.
You got to get to the 9th grade before you learn to read.
I did too. I read.
Yeah, but she's got to get to the 9th grade. Okay. So, anybody remember what we covered last week?
Church began at a certain place, certain time.
Okay. So the church started sometime, a long time ago.
Yep.
What else?
Being committed
Committed.
to the Lord, not committed to the same time.
Yes. Yes. What else?
Shelter from the storm, the church seeks shelter.
See, Christy was listening. Anything else?
Talked about money.
Huh?
Talked about money. A nickel.
Yep, the nickel. Blocking your view. What else did we talk about? Anything else?
Fellowship.
Okay. What fellowship was biblically, and what does it mean now?
And how that if we're all by ourselves, we're more vulnerable than we are with people, others, together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, alone is not good.
Oh, it makes you crazy.
And how your spiritual gifts have the most impact in the church.
Yes. Anything else? So we're studying things that every Christian should know, and some core beliefs, foundational beliefs that everybody at some point should be grafting into learning and studying. I have just a very ironic thought for a moment, though, and I just think about this for a second. This is the perspective we're going in tonight of something to think about. So, anybody in here play t-ball?
I'm not old enough.
Did you? You never played t-ball? Anybody
No.
play? Jennifer, did you play t-ball? You did? So Jennifer played. So when you went out on the field to your first game and you got on the field, did the coach ever look at you and say, tonight you need to be just like Babe Ruth? Never did say that? No. So
That's a long time ago.
what if anybody in here play basketball?
You're right, I'm 5'2".
Okay. When did you first start playing basketball? Last year. The first game you played, did your coach look at you and say, you need to be just like Michael Jordan tonight? You need to be just like Michael Jordan tonight.
I don't know. Have you ever watched the Clawson boys coach game?
I don't know. I'm asking her though. If she's ever had
They
that.
probably
The
do.
first game, did they ever tell you need to be just like Michael Jordan tonight? No. So no Jordan likeness. We can't get none of that tonight. Or did anybody play tennis? Now this one's a little more rare. Nobody? So, it'd be like going to your first tennis game at whatever age it is, and they say, now tonight, when people look at you, they should see nothing but Serena Williams, which is one of the top tennis players. Or what if you go to school, at what age in school, let me ask y'all this, Jennifer's here, she's a school teacher. At what age in school do they have to start writing essays? What age do you think? Y'all write essays?
Like
12?
Middle school for sure,
So-
because they have a on-demand writing test.
Okay. Did any point in time, do you think in middle school, did you write essays on stone tablets when you went through?
I remember,
You
a long time ago.
Well, it was that spike with the chisel and you know. But anyway, did you ever, in time, when you all was in school writing essays, did your teacher tell you the first one you wrote needed to be just as good as Shakespeare? Your
Yes.
writing style needed to be just as good as Shakespeare. It needed to be just like I'm reading Shakespeare. The best thing he ever wrote. The first time you've ever wrote an essay. Did they ever say that to you?
Kinda, yeah, but I thought you were just encouraging us.
Okay, okay.
Bell County did away with that writing portfolio after I graduated.
So, I want you to take those perspectives of the first time you played a ball game, very first time you've ever played a ball game, t-ball, basketball, whatever it was, and just imagine your coach after practicing all this time and you get to the point of playing your very first ball game and they look at you and say, tonight, you need to be just like Michael Jordan. You need to be just like Serena Williams. You need to write just as good as the best that Shakespeare has got. Tonight, the first time you do something. Tonight. Because when a person gets saved, I'll show you some things. When a person first gets saved, the first thing you're told, you learn, you read, is that Jesus is the only Son of God, came to earth to do what we couldn't do for ourselves, lived a sinless life, never once gave in to any temptation, dedicated himself to completely to God's will, used Scripture to drive away Satan, and demonstrated sacrificial love. The most important life in human history was the life that was lived by the Lord. But by the way, from the moment that you got saved and anybody looks at you, they should see him. From that moment on, you're to look just like him. As much perfection as he has, is, and is going to be, that's what we're supposed to be. From that moment, the very first time the moment that you're saved, that you become a Christian, just like that, when people look at you, that's what they should see. So the Bible describes this as a word specifically termed as being Christ-like. And all of this is completely tied to our relationship with him and the work of the Holy Spirit and the way that we view the world. These three things is the main core of Christ-likeness and how that our lives go. And the thing is that the problem is that when we say that everyone in the building, all those that are saved, should be Christ-like, they need to be just like him, How many people do you think has the assumption or imaginative thought that it's far beyond reach? That's something that is too far to obtain. It's so far out there we'll never get it. The word perfection in our minds labels us to believe that we're not going to do it because we're not perfect. But the thing that we've got to realize is that if you are commanded something to transform to the image of Christ, and we are commanded to do that, then it has to be possible. That has to be capable, bodied, possible to be able to do that. So tonight, I'm going to give us some things that is involved in being Christ-like. Now, tell me any examples you can think of that mention in the Bible anything about being Christ-like. Anything comes to your mind?
The disciples were first called Christians,
Mm-hmm.
and of Antioch,
Mm-hmm.
that means they were Christ-like.
Mm-hmm. Any other examples of anything the Bible has recorded of telling you in references to being Christ-like? Be ye holy, for I am holy. Yeah. It also says that you are be not conformed by what?
But be transformed.
Yeah. So do not conform to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And it also says that God created man in his own image. Okay. Anywhere else you can think of that tells us anything specific to this term of being Christ-like? Anybody? So, if I asked you the question and you put it on your paper, and some people can answer this to some effect, some people cannot answer this at all, and then other people just has no idea what to even think about when you ask them this question. But one of the top things that we need to know in dealing with Christ-likeness is the part and fact of pursuing God's will. And if I asked you tonight the specific question of what is God's will for your life, the answer should be different across the board with varying answers. But the question always comes down, if you ask somebody what is God's will for their life, some don't know, some partially know, some don't know what to think about that question, and then some can answer it. One of the things that I want you to think about, what's this picture from?
Wizard of Oz,
Thank you. What is this?
the Yellow Brick Road.
The Yellow Brick Road. This came out in Roger and Robert's day. Did y'all watch it?
I think we watched it once.
It was sometime many years ago. It was 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s. When was that thing? Something like that. But anyway, once we know what God's will is for us, then we start being able to spot the signposts and every trail marker along the way. If you go and hike over here in the national park and you head up the trail to the sand cave, every so often there's a sign that says you are here. And it tells you that you're still on the path that you're supposed to be on and that you'll reach your destination in a half mile, a mile, whatever. It also says that every crossing, if you take this trail, you'll go to the White Rocks. If you take this trail, you'll go to the Sand Cave. If you take this trail, you might not come back. I mean, just whatever the sign says, it directs you in some way. But you have to identify these things and know these signs and the markers to stay on path. One of the things that we do, and this is common things that people do in human nature, is if we say we're going to pray and we're going to wait for God to show us the path, some people start stopping and do nothing, and they freeze. And the theory in that my mind is that if we're not careful, we're thinking God's just going to lay out this yellow brick road. God is going to lay this yellow brick road out, and I don't have to do nothing but keep my feet right directly on it and everything else. But that's not quite the case. However, He's already revealed the will. So we don't know what's in the will for us. He's done revealed that. We can already look through that and find that. But a lot of people sit back and look and think, until I get all of what I feel like I need to know, I'm not moving, and they freeze. Common thing people do. So I want us to look at something. I'll give you some examples. So we're talking about God's will for our lives, all right? I'm going to give you an example in Romans 8. Very familiar verses in Romans 8 specifically. Now, in verse 28, there's 13 words that seems to imply to people that no matter how horrible something is that happens to you in your life, somewhere there's something good in it. Do people not interpret that from verse 28? So basically, I could use Romans 8:28 and say this is the insurance policy for all believers. But let's examine this verse for just a moment to get down to the actual meat of the matter. God's purpose is not some type of insurance for a guaranteed successful career, an impressive amount of money in the bank, some type of overly satisfying marriage, or even that you're going to be healed from every physical. Does it say you will be healed from every physical disease? Nowhere? I ain't found it. So an insurance policy guarantees coverage for the declarations that's on the page, right? Everything on the declarations page of your insurance, that's what it covers. It's supposed to. And if we just implied that this is, no matter how horrible something is, somewhere there's going to be something good in it, then we would have to go along that no matter how bad our situation gets, that it's still God's will for our life, our purpose, and He's going to do something good. But the interesting part is in verse 29, you got to look at this and for what it says. For whom He did foreknow, He also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of His Son, that He might be the firstborn among many brethren. Think about it this way. God said that He loved Jesus so much that, in other words, saying, I don't want to have just one son. I'd like to have many children. Men and women that are like the Son, that live in the things they love, the way they act, and the thoughts that they have. Also being part of the family. He says that there were fathers, sons. What else did He say there was? Heirs, joint heirs. All these labelings in the Bible coming down to parts of being in the will of God. Now, let's just look at this part. Everything in your life, that Bible verse, let me go back to it just so we can say that we know, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to what?
His purpose.
His purpose. Okay. We know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to His purpose. Now, everything in your life is working together for one purpose. It's not a promised marriage. It's not a healing from every physical disease. It's not $5 million in your bank. One purpose. And what is that purpose?
Glorify Him.
Nope. That's part of it, but that's not the answer.
We might be more
That to make you
more
just like Him, to make you transformed to that image. We glorify Him, but everything in your life is working together for one purpose: to transform us just like Him. Think about it in the way of put yourself in the Lord's shoes. This should drive you. If it was going to transform us into the image of Christ, then it should make us love everything that Jesus loved, do whatever He did, act the way He acted, all these things. And no matter what we go through in life, tragedy, success, triumph, sadness, whatever, it's all working together for one purpose. And when you think about it this way, and Paul wrote it when he wrote in Romans 8, he wrote it in this angle. If you study Romans 8 enough, you'll find this angle. That he's writing this, that all things work together for good to them who are called according to the purpose. You think about that love God and who are called according to the purpose. Okay, that means that all of our lives, anything that is un-Christ-like, is chiseling away. just chiseling away. If they, when they did Mount Rushmore, they went up there, had to get the faces on the rock. They had to chisel out the image. It didn't look like that when they first went up there. Mount Rushmore looked nothing like it did until they carved the image into that face. Have you been there?
No.
No? I didn't know if you did when you went to California. Anybody else been to Mount Rushmore? So when you get there and you see all those faces graven into stone, chiseled away, that's not what it looked like when they first got to that spot. That's not what it looked like when they first started making that. I don't even know how long it took them to finish it. But even from the ground up, starting that project of carving those faces in stone took a period of time. Everything that doesn't look, feel, act, move, whatever, like Christ, this is made to chisel away. The sadness, the tragedies, the excitement, successes, the triumphs, everything. All of it is working together to build us into that image. Now in Philippians chapter 1, I'll give you another example. Being confident in this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. So once we're saved, the sanctification process begins. What does sanctification mean? Huh? Yes, a cleansing, to be sanctified, set apart, separated. The sanctification process that we go through begins when we are saved. However, it's a lifetime. This is a lifetime work that is done. Have you ever heard, God saved you to begin the sanctification process in you. Have you ever heard of let go and let God? Is it in the Bible? Is there any examples of let go and let God? I've heard it preached. Any examples? We're talking about being in the wheel, Christ-like. And everybody says, just let go and let God. Anywhere you can think of it that's in the book? Come on, Roger, I know you're thinking hard. Go ahead and tell me.
Where it talks about that you shouldn't even put your worries aside,
Cast all your cares.
and or you shouldn't even worry about what you're going to eat tomorrow.
Mhm.
Notice that the birds always have food, and if God will provide that for the birds, just like what He'll provide for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But any more examples that goes to let go? Now the key words here is let go and let God. So I'm going to give you some things to think about on this direction tonight. We're to be Christ-like. However, we're going to flip the myth on let go and let God. Look at these verses. I'm going to give you these examples of Galatians 5 and Ephesians 4. Walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh, that you put off concerning former conversation of the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lusts, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that you put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. Look at the message in these passages. You are the one that has to lay aside your old nature. So you have to lay aside anger, malice, wrath, anything that you deal with, lusts, whatever it is. Who is responsible for walking in the Spirit?
We are.
We are. Who's responsible for putting on the new self?
We are.
We are. Why do people think we're going to wait for God to do it for me? There is a mentality of that. You know that? People have got a mentality, I'm going to wait on the Lord to do it for me. Well, okay. It's a cooperative effort between God and us that transformation occurs. We should know this. That transformation occurs because it's a cooperative effort. But if you look at these verses, just simple example right here. It says, ye. That's not let go and let God. That's my responsibility. That is my job. That is something I have to lay aside and be responsible to walk in the Spirit and put on the new self and not wait on God to do things for me. So when we look at being Christ-like tonight and we look at some things every Christian should know, there's nothing to wait on, first of all. And I'm going to ask you this. I'm just going to ask you all this. Is there some part of the Bible that's not been written? No? So that can't be the reason to wait. Give me any reasons that we should wait on something for God to transform us into the image of Christ. I'm going to wait and let God do it. Let go and just let God. How do we dispose that mentality? Biblically, how do we dispose that mentality? I'm giving you what everyday common people are practicing.
Because faith without works is dead.
Uh-huh. Yeah? What else? Are you at any time forced to do anything? We are a what? A free moral agent. You're not forced to do anything. So if you do anything, it's by your own decision, right? We do it by our own decision. So to become more Christ-like is honestly determined by our efforts. Because the more we cooperate, the more God can do. The less we cooperate, the less God can do. The first thing that we get into is surrendering. To be more Christ-like is surrendering to work with the Holy Spirit. And these are just simple examples I'm going to give you tonight to see some things. The more of our lives that we choose to give over to the Holy Spirit's control, the more people will see Christ in us. However, the process of surrendering or working towards Christ-likeness never ends. We cannot have in our mind that once I'm saved, I'm just in the image of God. I'm wholly perfect. I'm undescribable, unimaginable, and unattainable, Roger, and I've already got it all. There's nothing left to go for and obtain. There's nothing left to work on and do because and I'll tell you the avenue I've heard it said by actual people that are Christians is that the Bible says that you are now made whole. That's what he said. You are now whole and without spot. But the problem is the issue comes up that this is a never-ending process, a lifelong adventure process of transforming. And the more that we develop a habit of letting the Spirit have control of our decisions, the easier it becomes the next time to say no to sin. There's some things that the Spirit does in your life, and these are easy examples. So we're going to pull some of our reading verses tonight to give us some examples of some things that the Spirit does in our lives. Power in times of temptation. So Roger Cook had 1 Peter 3:18. What does it tell us?
For Christ also hath once suffered for sin, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit.
Quickened by the Spirit. Romans 6:12 and 13. What does it say?
Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that you should obey it in the lust thereof. Neither yield ye your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin, but yield yourselves unto God, as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto God.
What happened when Jesus went out into the wilderness?
He was tempted,
He was tempted by who?
Satan.
Okay. And what was the first thing the devil tried to use against him? Anybody remember?
Hunger,
Huh?
the hunger,
Yeah. What else? What was the main thing that the devil tried to use against him?
Stone into bread.
Yep. He tried to use the gospel, the word. He tried to flip it and use it against him. First thing he tried to do. The Lord turned it around and used the same word that this devil was trying to turn and turned it back around on the devil. So if we start filling our eyes with the truth, it's not hard to see the devil trying to deceive us with what sounds right, looks right, feels right. We have to stop allowing our minds to be controlled with things like anger and fear, and then we don't need to let our feet take us places we're not supposed to go, or use our tongue to criticize and tear down others. All of these things the Spirit is capable of doing if we are being transformed more and more into the image of Christ, the stronger power that we have in times of our temptations. And it's proven throughout the Bible, and we're going to see some more here in just a minute, of things that it proves and does. Direction in times of confusion. Okay, so Jennifer had John 10:27.
My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me.
So, clearly communicating the direction that he would have us to go. My sheep know my voice, and a stranger they will not follow. You think about, if I take you over to Acts chapter 6 and 7, the courage in times of opportunity. Stephen was a leader of the early church. We know in chapter 6 and 7 that they started making false accusations, and they brought him and dragged him in before the Sanhedrin. And knowing the men he faced was just looking for a good excuse to kill him, he launched into having an epic sermon. This was the time to fly, the opportunity to have courage to use the time. He did. So what did he do? Well, he started, if you read Acts 6 and 7, he starts tracing all of God's faithfulness, and then he starts tracing all of Israel's unfaithfulness. And as he goes throughout the nation's history, he starts showing more and more and more to the Sanhedrin men of how unfaithful Israel was and how faithful God was. And then he concluded that by pointing out how the religious leaders themselves had broken the law and then killed God's chosen one themselves. And the Spirit itself gave Stephen the courage to speak when the opportunity presented itself. Now, as his life slowly ebbed away, the Spirit gave Stephen the courage to do one other thing. What was it?
Look up into heaven.
Yeah, and what?
I see Jesus.
He did. But what did he do? What did Stephen do?
Forgave him.
He forgave him. The Spirit gave him courage to first take advantage of the opportunity first. Then, in 6 and 7, it says that the Spirit gave him the courage to even forgive those who were going to stone him to death. One of the interesting parts of this story, to me, more is not the Lord taking him out. It's more the fact of one of the bystanders that was there that day. Who was one of the witnesses? Saul. And later, Saul becomes Paul, the apostle. Standing there that day, he got to see the power, now think about this, the power that the Spirit gives us to have the courage in time of an opportunity and take that advantage to our own benefit, because he got to see Stephen right there not only stand up and tell them what they were doing and where they were at, but then he also got to turn around and forgive them before they killed him. What about the fact of, you look at the Spirit also giving comfort in times of distress? So you get a phone call in the middle of the night telling you there's been a bad accident. The doctor comes in the room, he tells you he's got bad news. Your employer comes in and tells you they don't need you no more, you can go to the house. All of these things comes in our lives, and nobody is immune to them. There is nobody got immunity to any of these possibilities coming into our lives. But 4 simple things that we know the Spirit does is gives us power to resist the temptation, the direction in times that we can't make the call because we're confused, the courage in a time of opportunity, and then even giving comfort in our times of stress. If we think about the oddness, now I told you, the first day you got saved, the very moment that you got up and said, "The Lord saved me," from that moment, you're supposed to look just like Him. From that moment on, we are supposed to be transforming to the image of Christ. One of the ways that it's important for us to think about doing that, and this is a Colossians chapter, where the Bible says, if ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Set your affection on things above and not on things on the earth. Isn't it funny that we're asked to be a citizen of 2 worlds at the same time? I mean, that's one impossibility that you just can't even really think about. But you are asked right now to be a citizen of 2 worlds at the same time. However, while we're here, we are supposed to love whatever the Lord loves. We are to think whatever He thinks and behave however He would have behaved, so that we are citizens of heaven while still residents of the earth, because we are bearing the image. The very common thing that's said in Bible school, Sunday school, is the only Bible some will read
Life.
is the life that you live before them. Okay. So when you think about heavenly minded for a moment, the only chance that anyone in this world will ever know and see a demonstration of power by the Spirit is what?
Your life.
Your life. And how much you transform to be like Him plays a whole part in this picture of what we learn and know. So staying heavenly minded is a big, big principle when we get into some Christ likeness. Now let's look at another one. Here's an example of some verses that we're going to look at. Compassion. This is another part in our lives that we should be going more to being like the Lord. So what did Mark chapter 1 tell us?
And there came a leper to him, beseeching him, and kneeling down to him, and saying unto him, If thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And Jesus, moved with compassion, put forth his hand, and touched him, and saith unto him, I will, be thou clean.
So here's an easy example in Mark 1 of the leper comes to him, covered up in sores, no way to be healed, there's no cure, there's no medicine to fix it. And he comes up to the Lord and he says, I know you can do this if you will. I know you can if you will. And as the verses Roger read, is that he moved with compassion. It didn't do the Lord any benefit for himself, medically, or anything else to heal this man, because he didn't have leprosy. It didn't do any benefit for the Lord at that very moment to do anything more than what he was already doing. But because he is capable and compassionate, he was moved upon compassion, and he performed the miracle and healed him right there. What did Matthew 9 and 6 tell us?
But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them, because they fainted and were scattered abroad, as sheep having no shepherd.
So we see another example of compassion and a part of the Bible. What did Luke 15 and 20 have?
And he arose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran, and fell on his neck, and kissed him.
What example is that story?
Prodigal son.
The prodigal son. Just the same as resembling God as to one of his own coming to him. We see compassion being a part and demonstrated amongst all of the Bible of what part of a quality of the life that Jesus lived that we should be mirroring in our transformation to be more like Him. What about giving people what they need rather than what they deserve? What's Titus chapter 3 tell us?
But after that, the kindness and love of God, our Savior, toward man appeared, not by works of righteousness, which he had done, but according to his mercy he saved us, by the washing of regeneration and renewing of the Holy Ghost.
Amen.
Giving people what they need rather than what they deserve. What did Ephesians 4 and 32 tell us? I think you had that one, didn't you? Was it 4 and 32?
Yeah.
Okay.
And be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you.
Being Christ-like doesn't mean that we never act firmly. However, it means that our first choice, and that should be our preferred choice, will always be to deal kindly with others. What does the Bible say about if you're just fuming and melted down and you're at nuclear level ready to explode on somebody? What's the Bible say you're supposed to do? Be angry and sin not. What else does it say? If you have an ought against your brother,
Or you go to Reconcile,
Not in anger.
not in
You're
anger.
not allowed to do that. Kindness. Kill them with kindness. That's one part we can just use that.
Do good to your enemies.
Huh?
By so doing, you'll keep coals of fire.
Yeah, yeah. Love your enemies. And then at one part, what's it say about the footstool? Make your enemies a footstool. There's a part in that chapter also about talking about dealing with those that forsake you and betray you and all these other things. But we've got to learn to be like the Lord, and that means we're going to give people what they need rather than what they deserve. And let's look at that as the one priority story, and the whole purpose of the gospel was that the only reason he came was to give us what we needed rather than what we deserved. What did we need?
Salvation.
And what did we deserve? Judgment. That was it.
Yep.
And the only thing was out of kindness, that is giving mercy and grace, giving what we deserve or need rather than what we deserve. What about humility? All right. What did Proverbs 11:2 say?
When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom.
Pride cometh, and then before shame,
Yet when pride cometh, then cometh shame.
then cometh shame. What about Matthew 23:12?
And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted.
Humble himself shall be exalted. What did 1 Peter 5:5 say?
Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility, for God resisteth the proud, and giveth grace to the humble.
There we go, to the humble. Now there's a balance to this, and I've used this verse that Haley's going to read in Romans 12:3 to balance out, because people often misunderstand humility and its principle. So there is a balance of this that Paul wrote in Romans 12:3. What's it say?
For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think so soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith.
So you think about the fact of there are some things about an humble person by biblical standards that tells us whether or not they're operating biblically as an humble person. And I just pulled some examples, just some easy examples for us of humble people. Humble people are normally willing to give others credit for their success. They refuse to hold on to their rights. They resist the need to always be right. And they demonstrate an interest in serving others. Again, is this not showing us the image of the life that Christ lived while here? Okay, what about some gentleness? Okay, now, gentleness in the image of God, meaning power that is under control. If we look up in the Bible dictionary some things about gentleness, it will relate us back to the Greek words and take us to defining that a power that is under control. That is how we define gentleness in the image of Christ, being Christ-like. It won't let our emotions or hostile feelings overpower us. And the very common thing that is an easy example for you to think of how gentleness is practiced is who said in Luke 23:34, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Himself. The one that could have struck them all dead at the very moment and left this world and left them all there. He could have called any amount of angels he wanted down here to get him and take him out of this place before he died. He could have asked the Lord or God to come and take it all away in the twinkling of an eye. Could have done it. But instead, having all of that power, he was manageably under so good of control of it that he turns around while there and says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So don't overthink gentleness is a manner of weakness. That's where we mess this up. A lot of biblical studies show that common day Christians in our time right now today think that if we be gentle, we are weak. And that's not so. he says that he would have you not to be ignorant, but of a sound mind. Is that not what the Bible tells us? That we should not be ignorant, but we should be of a sound mind. Well, part of our ability to control power that we are given is by gentleness and how we use that. Now, here's one that some people do really bad with. Some people can't do this at all. How many of you don't do well with a red light? How many people run a red light on average, regularly?
Not regularly, but I have.
You have, but there's some people that does not want to get held up at a red light. It's not going to make them late. They're not going to be missing anything. They're not going to not get to the store before they close, but they don't want to wait on the red light to turn back green. So what do? Zoom through. Very common thing. All the long lines at the store. Some people, I've seen people at Kroger and Walmart just leave their buggy and go out the door because they don't want to wait in line. I've seen
They've done been in there over an
Huh?
hour. But they done been in
They've
there
done
over
been
an hour.
in the store for over an hour, loading the buggy. But they get up there and see a long line because everybody else was doing the same thing. They can't wait on that. And they leave their buggy and go somewhere else. And then they must go somewhere else, I assume, and start over and load another buggy up somewhere else. I don't know. But if you look at patience in the image of Christ, then we have to look at it just in the perspective of how he dealt with it, of enduring the mistreatment by other people. Today, our culture, the main way of dealing with people is that we don't get mad, we what? I've got a very close friend of mine that I've worked with a long time, and she had something happen on her property one time, and I'll never forget what she told her mother. When her mother, because her mother knew she was very mad, and she wasn't saying nothing, she was very calm, that's what worried her. And she was so mad and very calm, and her mom said something to her, and she said, "Now don't you go over and do anything to them." And I'll never forget this because I was there when this happened. She leaned back just as calm as could be in that chair, and she said, "I'm just going to give them enough time to forget about it." That's what she said. "I'm going to give them enough time to forget about it." And that's all she ever said. So that means at any point in time, when it hits her mind, she might go over there. But she says as of right now, she's going to give them some time to forget about it. I always think about that because everybody in today's culture's mode is, we're not going to get mad, we're going to get even. We got to get even. So what did Colossians 3:13 tell us?
Forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye.
I look at this, and I don't know if you ever think about the patience of God and how far it really has to go. But can you imagine what it would be like to be in his shoes and deal with the people in 2025? When they come crying to you because something didn't go their way. And you could easily just look at them and say, "Well, you ain't been to church in 6 months. You ain't been here in 5 years. You're on the books and you don't even know where." I think about it. Now, seriously, in my mind, I think about that God's just sitting there and he knows. I mean, he knows it all. He knows. But have you ever thought about how much patience he has to have just to deal with the lack of patience that we don't have? It's big. See right there, Jennifer knows. So you just think about that. You know, all these things that people expect God to give them and expect God to do for them. And he patiently deals with that. He patiently minds the will of God outside of the perspective of everything he could pull. And you think about it. Now, I'm talking about after you're saved, and we're trying to transform to be Christ-like. And the amount of patience he has to have with those who are his children. A parent, there's some parents in here, how much patience do you have to have with your children? Just your children. So we imagine the amount of patience that's needed. See? So there's a great amount of patience needed.
You
But
should ask my dad that question.
a great example, well, I don't know if we need to. That's a dangerous thing to go.
I told you, they kicked me off the car insurance.
So we've talked about gentleness, we've talked about patience. Now let's look at one last thing that's mentioned very commonly. A quality that binds all other Christian graces together. And we are told in 1 Corinthians 13, who wrote that? Paul. That witness that was standing there the day that the Spirit let Stephen be powerful and have the opportunity to speak and even forgive them that was killing him, that same one is the one that got to write this part in 1 Corinthians 13 when he says, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three, but the greatest of these is charity. If we want to look at love in the image of Christ, because we're supposed to be Christ-like, then we have to look at it as a love that is more concerned with giving than receiving. And if you think about how love really works, this is a good one for you at the moment. Everybody that drives a vehicle has an engine. And what has to be in the engine to run?
Gas and oil,
Oil. What does oil do in the engine?
lubricating.
It lubricates all the parts so that it can run smooth, just nice and smooth. If you do not have a dipstick, I'm going to get on a soapbox for just a moment. If you don't have a dipstick, how much oil do you know is in there?
I don't know, the car tells me.
Huh?
The car tells me.
We hope it's accurate. But if you don't have a dipstick, how do you know how much oil is in the engine? Now, the reason I say this is because Robert's got a Toyota, I got a Toyota, and there's certain things on that Toyota has no dipstick. Transmission's one of them. There ain't no dipstick on transmission. It's sealed. I don't know how much is in there and if it's got enough, because I can't check it. But that dipstick is purposely put there for you to be able to pull the dipstick out and see how much oil is in there. Because if we get too low on oil, what happens?
Starts to knock.
Yeah. We're not lubricating enough, so the engine's going to start running rough. What happens if you pour too much oil in it?
The light comes on.
The light comes on. First good question and answer right there. What happens if you pour too much oil in the pan? There's too much in the pan.
Smoke.
Karen should know this. She's got a family of mechanics that work on her vehicles. Do what?
It starts to smoke
Yeah.
out through the,
What else is?
out through the exhaust.
Yeah. What else is happening when there's too much oil in the pan? One of the things that we learned recently from a guy that had a breakdown in the area is that he filled up so much oil in the pan that every time the pistons and everything else moving parts was coming down to it, it was smacking the oil in the pan, which was causing that force, compression, to build up in the engine area, which was causing serious problems for him at the time, because overfilling the pan, it will burn and come out the oil or the exhaust, but if you got a lot in there, every time something's moving, if that space is not there, it's coming down into that liquid, which is giving it a resistance problem from freely moving. If we look at love being more concerned with giving than receiving, then we can look at it the same way as the oil is to the engine. It is what is going to make us run very smooth. The right amount of oil is just what we need to have the way we do. And the dipstick, back to the dipstick. In the same way that we have a readily visible measurement of our commitment to God and our love for other people, if our affections and thoughts are set on things above, then our lives will be characterized by the qualities that Jesus displayed. That dipstick is measurable. You can measurably know how committed you are to God, how much you love God, how much you love doing the will of God. It is all measurable by the amount of our commitment. And in Romans 6:4, it says, we're buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. Paul, in this very part of the Bible, is telling us in layman's terms that we don't have to wait until we die to experience this new life. Do you know people think that we have to wait till we're dead and in heaven to be part of the new life? And here's what's interesting. If you've participated in the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, then the same quality of life can be yours today, right now. You don't have to wait till you die to become like Jesus and to experience the benefits of living a Christ-like life. And you can even experience that transformation now. But you go back to that ball game issue of that Christ-likeness is a very tall order. All of it is a very tall order, but it's never beyond our grasp, or even after we have failed, it is not out of our reach. But it's so ironic for me to think that the true answer is that we think about it. The minute we're saved, we are to be like Him. We are to be transformed to that image. And it's a lifelong process of sanctification, transformation. But you never see in a ball game or anything else, they walk out and say, as of this game, you need to be Michael Jordan. You need to be Babe Ruth. You need to be one of those. We don't see the reality a lot of times that it's always within reach. Every interaction we have, temptation we face, decision we make about what we will or won't do in a given situation is a new opportunity to let others see Christ in us. God has already equipped us to accomplish His will. The Holy Spirit stands ready to guide us, and we have within us the power to be like Jesus Christ, already available within our reach. This is one of the things that Robert speaks of in Sunday school, of future things. A lot of people think that a lot of things that God's prepared for us is so far out there it's not within our reach. But He says that He gave you the power to what?
Become the sons of God.
Become the sons of God. He done gave it to you. It's done here. Have you got any more power right now than you're going to have?
Nope.
No. Has He restricted us from getting anything we need right now that He's going to give us later? No. It's not a graduation process that we go through as we live our lives. So when we look at some common things in our own life and our own beliefs, things that we should know or look into and start learning, is just exactly how much we're expected to be Christ-like now, and how that process should continuously be modified and changing us and transforming us into His image, so that the love, the compassion, the kindness, the gentleness, all of those features are played out in our lives every day in how we choose to deal with other people, how we choose to make our decisions, how we choose to live our lives, because just like we said earlier, that is the only thing that people see. And you better believe if you make a mistake, what will they do?
Look at that.
Oh, it's in their memory forever. They'll bring it back up when you forget it. Just like my friend said, I'm gonna give them long enough to forget it. You think about that, that's what they do. And then later on, they'll remind you of whatever you've done that you made some mistake or did wrong. That's the world's habit. Get mad, don't get mad, but get even. But we gotta look at ourselves in our minds and Christ-likeness, and look at it in the reality of that it's not a coming thing. It's not a future foretold thing that we are going to become in the image of Him later. It starts immediately, and at that moment is when we are supposed to be making the efforts of transforming our lives into His image. Anybody else got anything tonight they'd like to add?
Good lesson.
Why is so many people got the idea that they, I heard a preacher once say, or a comment, that he loved the Lord so much he just laid the Bible on his chest in his recliner and let it absorb.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it ain't gonna absorb into your skin that way.
Mm-hmm.
But he was talking about that's how much he was wanting to love the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't get it that way. You, like I say, the more you know, study it out, and the more you know, the more you can, should be going into you that way.
Yes.
That when anything would come up, that you would have that word to fall back on, to throw at the devil. I thought that was so ironic. He was a preacher.
It sounds good.
You know how many scholars we would have if it was that easy?
Yeah, it sounds real good.
Osmosis.
There's several biblical examples, but I'm thinking of the one that, for whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. The portraying people think that they can obtain this knowledge and wisdom by many different ways. And the problem is that there's only one way, there's only one image, one truth. But we've got this vastness of our opinion, as that example, of what people think about how that they can be transformed. And you know, some good examples of Christ-like, and I like to use this sometimes, is if you could take some people right now that used to really live a rough lifestyle, or even a satanic lifestyle, a very, very hard lifestyle of sin, that is no longer bound to that, no longer lives in that, does none of that, and just see the temperament. And I'll give you all a good example. He's not here, but I'll give you an example. Is Brandon. Brandon, before he got saved, has told me multiple occasions and mentions about times of dealing with a lot of issues and anger and problems. Tim, that's Tony and Rick's nephew, is another example. That is a very different human right now compared to what he was just 2-3 years ago. If you all could have seen him 2 or 3 years ago before he got help, he would have reminded you of the one that was in the cemetery screaming, lashing out, and cutting himself and going wild. That's exactly what he was doing. As a matter of fact, he's even told it himself of times when he was beating on his sister or aunt's window, beating on the window, saying there was somebody outside trying to kill him, because he was so indebtedly in his mind that there was something out there. That's how controlled these people were. Even Brandon, in the example of the life that he was in and things he dealt with and drugs and all the stuff that influenced him, you can take somebody like that and see what man is capable of doing and how much destruction is really able to go on in somebody's life and just tear down to what you see now, and the very different person that you see sitting before you, controlled, gentle, meek, patient, all these things. And it interests me to see the transformation. You ever hear of the fact that a lot of older people that get saved, you'll hear that I can see there's a change. We hear that. You know, I can definitely tell there's been a change. A change to what? There's only one thing that they can be changing to, and that's to be transforming to His image. The only thing in God's will for all these things to work together for good is that it's chiseling away all the un-Christ-like things in our life to get us more centered in the will to be more like Him. Anybody else got anything tonight?
Said there, much is given, much is required. And then the pendulum swings the other way, that people say, you know, I don't want to know because ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't want to know, so they don't want to have to be accountable.
Well, that's the same thing with the commitment. That's the main reason why people don't join the church. They honestly think that if they don't join, then there's no commitment requirement for them to be present. They've missed part of the equation that God, their Father, is the one that told them to be there. And the one that saves them from going to hell that they're responsible to is the one that they're answering to, not the church. You think about that. They miss that equation step. They think that church is just responsible to itself. If I commit and be a member to this place, then that's who I'm responsible to. They take God out of the whole equation. They do. And they won't. There's some really interesting numbers right now that shows how many people of older age, I'm talking 50 to 70, that will not join a church because they do not want to have to commit. They want no commitment tied to them. They want to feel, as I've read it, they want to feel free that they can come and go as they feel like they need to.
But they have a job they're committed to.
Oh yeah, sure. And the volunteer efforts of the Red Cross will amaze you at what they've got going on and what they're capable to do. These people and the effort they make to give money and donate time to be part of the Red Cross, it blow your mind. But those same people, I've seen it myself, those same people will be at the scene of a tornado disaster or something else, and they'll every time say, well, I'm a member of such and such church. I asked one not too long back when we had a recent weather event. I asked some people that was with the group, when they said that we're from so-and-so church. I said, you are? I said, when do y'all have services? And I'm not lying to you. The person turned to the person beside them, and she said, are we still having it on Wednesday night? And I said, now wait a minute. If you were going, you'd know that. And the one beside her said, well, I'm not a member, so I'm not sure. I swear she did. She said, I'm not a member, so I'm not sure. There is a line of commitment problem drawn right there. But the problem is, if we take it further with our own church members or non-members or whatever else, and we take it even further and say, okay, let's just take the church physically out of the picture. Let's take this building off the property, take your name off the book, it don't exist, and let's just put you and God in one little spot, and let's discuss how committed you are to being more like Him, not the church, but more like Jesus. How committed are you? If we just went that direction, we would see how far away that people are not making an effort to transform in that direction. Self-control is where that's at. I don't want to let the Spirit guide and lead and direct, because if I did learn more, then I might not be able to do what I want to do. I might not be able to go where I want to go. We've got churches in our area, Steve will tell you, that allows several things that we don't allow here. And those people that go to those churches see absolutely no wrong in anything going on. They see complete justification in whatever they do in their church and whatever they allow. But if you go back and look at what their commitment is to God, how much are they transforming away from the world and its sinful ways if they're allowing it? How much are we allowing if we can't be transforming if we're not going away from something? So we see in Christ-likeness, that's what I'm back to on tonight, the core belief is Christ-likeness should take us down a path that when we learn what God's will for our life is, and that yellow brick road mentality, that we don't freeze up and sit and think we're going to wait. We're going to start our walk with Him right then. That's when our walk should be going, right then. We should be in motion, walking with the Spirit. But at the same time, we need to know enough about His will that every time that one of them markers comes up or one of them signs on the path comes up, we know what that is. We know what that identifies. We know we're heading in that direction like we're supposed to be on the right path. Anybody else got anything tonight?
I want to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
You was talking about the two gentlemen that have been changed.
Mm-hmm.
What if there's somebody that is kind of in that state of mind, and they don't want help?
Something somewhere has convinced them that they don't need it. Whether it be their own power, their own will, or the devil himself's got enough in their mind for them to not see that need. Do they sense they're not wrong?
Yeah.
That's exactly the power of the night. That's also the reason why people do it when they're out of church. They find their own way is the right way, instead of coming before. And that's an example of, I look at it this way. Everybody has to answer for themselves before God in everything they do. Is that not true? Everybody has to answer to God themselves for what they do. But can their actions be backed by what He said was right and wrong? And if it's a no, then He didn't tell them that. It didn't happen. But a lot of people are deceived, is the word I'm looking for. Deceived.
And there's no convincing them. I think they're always right, and whatever they do is okay, and they have more power than the normal person. They think they're a genius.
Mm-hmm. As long as that's the mindset, why do they need anybody? Why do they need anything better? They can do it all. That's their mindset, their mentality. But that's all deception. Deception. If the devil can keep you just in the right spot as long as he can, that's that much less time that he has the risk of losing you to the truth. But at some point in time, all things are going to work together. Whatever happens in that time of what I call rejection of the Lord's will and rejection of the truth, whatever happens during that time is going to work for the sole purpose of what God's will is. I always say whether you're in it or not, it's going to go. The will of God is going to happen, whether we're in it or not. But the thing about people in their lives, and we see it a lot, I don't need that. I'm okay. That's the next one we hear. I'm okay all the time. They find themselves in positions repetitively over and over and know that there's a problem there, but they're not going to change it because they, in their eyes, don't see any wrong. That to me is a full deception.
Yeah.
A full deception.
And you know, you can't convince them that they need help when you've seen what the help does for them.
Yeah. Who was Ananias in the Bible?
Which one?
No, the other one.
The one that removed the scales from Paul's eyes?
Mm-hmm. What was he there? What was he there to do?
What was he there?
Yeah, what was his job? And I know he removed the scales from. So on the road to, Paul gets blinded,
Yeah.
and he has to be led to Ananias. And when he gets to Ananias, what does Ananias do?
Lord, I've heard he was a bad person.
Yeah. Yeah, he ain't really excited about this encounter. I mean, this one's the one that's tearing everybody down, killing people because they're in the church.
But the Lord
Because he
said,
thinks that he knows right. He's persecuting the right because of his own way. And he gets blinded. And he gets to Ananias. And Ananias, I always think about that Ananias did what? Huh? He prayed, and then what? What happened?
the Lord said he's a chosen vessel.
Yes.
I guess he didn't know it.
I have to look. I can't remember the part.
No, it's good.
But the blindness was gone. He could then see. Now, in my mind, there's a song, I've heard it sang by several people, an old song, and there used to be a preacher in the area that used to sing a song. And it was always in the perspective of Saul and Paul's eyes, of that one person that's going to be the one to tell them what kind of man the Lord is. There's going to be a point in time when the devil drags somebody so far down and they realize it. They actually get to the point of realizing the truth. There will be an instrument sitting there somewhere. That's just like he told them when they went to find the upper room. This is another example for you. He told them when they went to find the upper room that when you get there, you'll find a man carrying a pitcher of water. Men did not go get water. Men did not fetch water in town. That was the women's job. But he told him, when you get there, you'll find a man carrying a pitcher of water. There will be a designee right in the path that will get a hold of him, because that's how God works. There will be somebody that has the gift of doing what needs to be done. Nothing against anybody trying. We all should try at all times to lead people in the right direction. But I really believe in watching over times that people struggle with problems and dealt with issues. Chris is one is an easy example. He's 34 years old, and he can tell you because he went through 2 in-stay rehab programs and failed them. And there were some good people in both of those, and pastors in those that really did good with them. He can tell you the church he got saved in and some people in there that really had an influence on his life. But they didn't get a hold of him and change him. They did not get a hold of him and change him. It will take the awakening factor, as I call it. There'll be an Ananias or a man with a pitcher standing there that God will have in place that will reveal to them just how blind they really are. And we hope and pray by mercy that it comes sooner than later. But it's all deception. I don't need anybody but me. I've got it all under control. I can handle it. I can do my own thing.
You know, they don't have
Anything.
a place to live,
No.
a job, a vehicle,
No.
anything. And
Absolutely not.
they think they're just hunky-dory.
Yep. I can take you to someone right now that has no job. He don't have a dime in his pocket. He has no specific place to live. He stays places, but he has no specific place to live. And if you sit in this room and talk to him, he is more free than any of us with bills. he is more relaxed than any of us with a job. He is more free about life, that he's not worried about anything. It's all good. It's all good. But don't even have a way to pay a bill if he had one. And he doesn't need it. In his perspective of life, he don't need that.
But they're living off other people,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Call this one,
Yep.
they'll bring you food. Call this one, they'll bring
Absolutely.
you cigarettes. This one will take you something.
All day long. All day long. There's a lot of that. A lot of that. But who's putting in their mind what they've got now and where'd it come from?
Yeah.
That's all control. That's all control. And they've got to believe it somewhere. Because that's where they've got in their mind. I know. I don't need that.
It's unreal, the things that this person has told me that they have control.
Oh yeah. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. You can go in many places right now and hear that very thing by many people. And to them, that's real. It's very real. But I still say to the effect of anybody that gives that I'm okay and believes it, they're deceived. Full deception.
Now, you know, no matter how hard you try to help a person, you can only go so far.
That's right.
And you have to turn it over to the Lord and
Yeah.
leave it alone.
Yeah. And in that perspective, we can say to let go and let God. Give that to the Lord and let it go and let God. But not our walk to be more like Him. Anybody else got anything tonight? Roger's been awful quiet.
I'm always
They say you learn more by listening than talking.
Well, he should know it all.
a little bit.
Anybody else got anything tonight?
I'm glad for this, this lesson, because it put things in perspective.
We can take several examples. I'll tell you the one thing that I've seen freeze people more than anything, and even in the church, is grief. Grief will freeze people hard. I mean, it gridlocks people just like that. And everybody has their own way of dealing with things, or have their own way of dealing with grief. But it don't stop anything to doing what God has set out for us to do in our lives. Actually, in my opinion, God doesn't knows everything. He doesn't knows what's going to happen. And if all things are going to work together for the good for that purpose, then it should make me trust Him more to take care of where I'm at and what I'm going through, to keep moving. Keep moving. If I freeze, I'm stuck in one place.
So that goes back to patience.
Always.
I want
Always.
patience and I want it right now.
A lot of people with grief get mad. Just in general, they get mad. And they can't never let that go. I've seen a lot of people have a lot of built-in anger problems from grief, and maybe from 30 years ago. And they never resolve it. You know what them people are? They're stuck. They're froze in that spot. Instead of staying in their walk with the Spirit, staying on the trail, knowing the markers and the signs. You can't tell me there's no way of believing, knowing the power that we are given, that the Lord won't give you a sign when you need it. If you went through this park over here and you headed up that mountain and then started questioning whether or not you were really going to go to the sand cave, and you keep walking up that hill, I've done it several times, you keep walking up that hill, there's one part you feel like a bear or a goat, a yak going straight up the ridge, and I'm thinking, my God, this can't be the trail. But sure enough, about 300 yards on up, there's a sign that says 25 more 100 feet. That makes me upset because I gotta go uphill 25 more 100 feet. But at least if I keep going, there's another sign just ahead. You go down the interstate and you'll see the exit sign. It'll say 5 miles. And then the next thing you'll see if you keep going is 1 mile. Don't you? On the interstate. You always get the exits 5 miles ahead, then 1 mile. The more you keep going, the closer you get to what sign you need to know where to turn. But if we just sit still, we're not going to get anywhere in life. That's our problem. And a lot of things in life freezes us. I have seen people that have lost a job by no fault, just maybe a business something went out of business, closed or moved or whatever. And I've just seen people go home and never go back to work. Never go back to work. That apparently was the only job that they could ever do in their life. They could do the same job at other places, but that one place, and they're froze. They're froze.
I kinda had that mindset when I worked at the soda factory, you know, cause there were several, worked for 4 companies under the same roof.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought, this is all I'm ever gonna do, but the last one that went out of business provided me a way to go to college, tuition free, everything furnished, and I took advantage of it, and that's how I got where I am now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Instead of freezing and not doing anything. And a lot of people do it. Everything can be worked for the good if we keep going. That's the catch. Everything can be worked for the good if we keep going. But when we stop, when we sit still on God and we just hold her up, put the brakes on it, and say, I'm just going to sit right here and wait. Well, the sign's ahead. It ain't coming to you. You got to go to it. That's the thing we miss in life a lot. Same as driving. If I'm going to Jonesville, it says right up here on the hill, Jonesville's 34 miles. If I stop at 15 and sit there and say, well, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait on a sign. It's never coming. It's 10 more miles ahead to tell me I'm 8 miles out. If I don't keep going and I freeze, I'm the one that's stuck. The sign's already out there ahead. If I keep going, I'm going to start picking up on my signs and know that's where I'm supposed to be and where I'm headed. Roger could tell you, if you let Lois tell you where to turn,
You're in trouble.
then you have no signs and nowhere to turn because she don't know where she just told you to go. She's done that before, didn't she?
Yeah, she was about the church once.
Yep. Her and Carolyn was plumb over here on the gondolier at the bank. Called Roger, and me and him sitting here won't know how to get here.
She did.
Been here for years. But
And she used to be a home health aide.
and went out to homes.
In Michigan.
I know.
Did you go to the right people's house?
I don't know. Somebody got a bath.
She had directions, you know.
Somebody got medicine.
Yeah.
Somebody got something. I don't know if that was the right one or not, but she got there, didn't she? The more entertaining thought for me would be just riding with her. Not that she knows where she's going, just riding with her. Because I can just imagine everything she sees, she's going to be like one of them little dogs. Everything she sees, she gets her attention on. She sees it going by. Because she would do that on Roger in the car. She'd be over looking over here staring at something. There'd be something big right in front of us. And when she'd turn her head around, she'd scream. She did that, didn't she? But you got to keep going. You can't stop. That's a big one on people all day long. They want to just stop where they're at because they don't see no reason to keep going, but the sign is out there. Same thing with the people that believe they're right in their own mind and their own ways. There's an Ananias just up the road, done being prepared for that work. Or there'll be one in the path that's got a special purpose that will be the life changer. It will be somebody to get a hold of him. I don't know if any of y'all know Dale Jones that pastors Red at Middlesboro. Yeah, me and Roger's been over. I've preached there several times, and he's preached
I didn't
on.
go preach. I went with you.
No,
Okay.
But anyway, well, Roger was saved in that church. That's where he was
Yeah.
raised and saved in that church. But their pastor Dale's preached on almost every death row, and I know every prison in Kentucky, but maybe almost every death row possibly, because he's preached in a lot of prisons, and he's got an effect on them people. Let me tell you something. When he goes in there and cuts her open, the life he used to live until he was saved, and then after being saved, he was a deacon before he ever became pastor. He's got a way of getting some people's attention, is he not? Very blunt, very firm. If you go to his doorstep, you better expect to hear something you might not like, because he will tell you. But now in those prisons that he goes to and preaches, and there's some that will call and ask for him to come back for a visit, surprisingly, as raw as he gets with them. But that is one that's in the path that can go in them doors, and that you should see the level of respect by the people in those facilities for him.
I remember when I guess he hadn't been in church very long, and we were in service with him, and when he would sing, his face would turn as red as that coat.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. But there's somebody in the path just out there for that moment to get that use, a key element in the work.
They got the key for the lock.
Yes. Anybody else got anything tonight?